Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Jeremy Scott Fitness Podcast Radio Show, coming to you on this Friday, June the 16th, 2023. Hopefully it finds you staying safe and staying sweaty all at the same time. On today's episode, we are rapping with Dr. Nick Hool, but before I start to harass him, real quick, just some housekeeping things. One, the Jeremy Scott Fitness app is live and rocking for you guys. We are like week 4 into week 5 of the Summer Metcon Challenge. JeremyScottFitness.app. If you guys want to pop into there, we'll let it run for an extra 5 weeks once it's done. But again, we'll give you guys obviously a free week to try it. If you like it, you can hang out with us for a couple of pennies a day. If you think it sucks, I'm happy to point you guys in the right direction. But you get all my personal workouts, full programs, follow-along mobility flows, nutritional content challenges, and a whole lot more. And we're updating that thing every single week. And we've actually been loading pieces of our Rebuilt program, which will come out in 2024. That's going to rip all of your faces off and then rebuild it back up in a healthy, positive way. So if you guys want to check it out, JeremyScottFitness.app. Link is in the show notes. Free week for everybody who is listening. And you guys already know this episode is brought to you by my friends at AG1. It's the one thing I take every single day and I never miss. drinkag1.com/Jeremy Scott is the link. I'll put it in the show notes as well. Easy, quick, efficient, and never make an excuse not to take it. If you don't eat enough fruits and vegetables, and let's be real, none of us do, this is why I take it, to cover the gaps in my nutrition. So if you guys struggle to get enough in, well, especially the micronutrients obviously the body needs, this is for you. If you're tired of taking 15 different pills, if you're looking for an easy, quick, foundational nutritional supplement to your diet, which again, real food is the key, but we can't eat all the things that we need, this is what I would take. That's why I take it, and that's why I bring the travel packs with me everywhere I go. And personally, I think it's the best tasting supplement drink that's out there. And I've basically tried every single one. And I know I can't eat enough of the things I need every day to be my absolute best. So if you're looking to, solve an easy problem in your life, this is probably the best health hack. Have better gut health, boost your energy, support immune system, and again, find something that tastes good. And I say that because when things taste like trash, I'll make an excuse not to drink them. Like back in the day, I used to drink apple cider vinegar like raw, and half the time I'd want to gag. And so I could convince myself not to drink it. This is not that. It's easy to do, simple, it takes about 30 seconds, and you guys are good to go. So if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with order 1. Go to drinkag1.com/Jeremy Scott. But if you're still on the fence here, and you're not sure you want to pick it up, shoot us a message, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn. I don't care where you hit us up. Send us your mailing address. Monica will send you a free pack right to your front door, 100% for free. You can try it before you buy it. If you like it, then you get hooked up with all the free stuff from there. So, again, you can try it. No obligations on us. We're shipping stuff to every country, state, province. Doesn't matter where you live. We'll get it to you. So just ask. Don't feel weird. That's why we're offering to send it to you. Otherwise, drinkag1.com/Jeremy Scott. You get all the free stuff today. Whew. Always a mouthful, dude. Dr.
Well done.
Nick Hool. Welcome, my man.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude.
This is dope.
So we'll go, these guys will get your bio and stuff in the show notes, cool. And I'll talk about it. But if you want to go origin story, if you want to go background, like, you know, how you ended up here, how you became a doctor, why you became a doctor, and what all that means.
I'm still trying to figure out what that means. What is a doctor? I'm not a real doctor. I'm a Ph.D. doctor, but people don't have to know that. I can just put doctor in front of my name and it's cool.
Dude, we know a lot of doctors here. Some of them super, super smart. Some of them I question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? I question myself a lot too. But no, interesting story. I never thought I would have a PhD. Never really wanted one. Never cared. But, you know, my experience growing up led me down this path of research, studying the brain, studying the body, specifically anxiety in the mind and the body, what that looks like physically, how it physically manifests itself. That's kind of my passion, is just, I mean, especially in today's world, it's so prevalent, and it's got such a, it's kind of front and center of, you know, culture, and it's all over the news, the internet, people talking about, you know, everyone's dealing with stress, anxiety, and everyone's trying to come up with new techniques to deal with it. But, you know, I grew up with a form of anxiety. It was performance anxiety on the golf course. So,
like, what age did that start?
So I really probably the last 2 years of my high school career, but I grew up playing golf since I could walk. So I'm 29 years old, and I don't even remember what year, but I'm like 6, 7 years old. I'm swinging a golf club, and then get enrolled in the little junior league at the local club and winning those little events. And
Did you grow up here?
yeah, from Tempe, Arizona. Still live in Tempe, Arizona. Still.
Dude, you're 29. How long you been a doctor for? Like 10 minutes?
Yeah. Almost 3 years. 3 years.
No shit.
Wow, 3 years. That's crazy.
Wild, dude.
Yeah, I got my Ph.D. in biomedical engineering 3 years ago.
So you've basically been in school your whole life?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It was great. I gave my dissertation over Zoom, which was strange because this was right during COVID in 2020. So ASU shut down. That's where I got my degree. And everyone, had to give their final presentations over Zoom. And I'm like, I'm nervous, but I'm going to do this with no pants on because I can.
That's badass.
It was sick. I took a little selfie. I'm like, about to give my PhD dissertation. Let's go.
Was it so, like, in hindsight, like, it's better for you to do it that way?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I felt so comfortable, and it's cool. You because it's over computer, like you can have your notes too, so you don't really lose track. But it was just kind of funny. I'm like, why not? Let's just do it.
Yeah, dude.
And it worked. I was like, I feel comfortable.
So what is your doctorate in?
It's in biomedical engineering, which sounds awesome. It is awesome to a degree, but biomedical engineering is really all the fields of engineering combined into one to try and help, human health and improve any type of human health. So it's electrical engineering, it's mechanical engineering. I mean, it's everything. So biomedical engineers are really more like scientists than engineers. They have to understand the basics of everything. But the main goal is to study the body and, take an engineering approach, quantify everything in the body so you can, understand what's going on. And then using engineering, can we develop tools to hack the body and improve, physiological function? It's mostly, at least what I studied, a lot of like implants, so pacemakers, deep brain stimulators. I mean, pretty crazy stuff.
Like Neuralink, like Elon shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Is that going to be wild? Is that going to happen?
No time soon. No.
No. Because that shit freaks me out big time.
No, it shouldn't freak you out right now, but it'll happen at some point.
I'll be dead.
It will. Yeah, we'll probably be dead.
Or super old.
Like, it's just I don't remember. I can't remember where I was reading it, but no, like the first application of Neuralink is just to like help, I want to say stroke victims or maybe people with some type of paralyzed limb, like gain their function back. And that's not even going to happen for, another 10, 20 years. So like everyone's freaking out like, oh, they're going to be able to store all of our memories and I'll be able to read your mind. It's like, no, you won't. Not it. The brain is so complicated. It's insane. Like we're so far away from being able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, because I hear people say that, and then I go to like Safeway and I see them on the dummies walking around, and I'm like, this doesn't seem like we're that close yet.
No, we're not that close. It's incredible. There's some tiny little things that we can do in the lab. Like, there's a famous study where there's some monkeys in a lab and they're showing them different colors and they're recording their brain activity as they see different colors, and then they have a signal that like tells the monkey to like think of something, and then based on the signal they can tell you what that monkey's thinking. So it's like they're thinking of a yellow color.
That's trippy.
Just by like monitoring their brain activity. That's the idea of what Elon's trying to do. He's trying to
That's wild, bro.
He's trying to record every brain signal that he possibly can, because in theory every thought there's a physical component to it. So you should be able to quantify it. If you can quantify it, you should be able to reproduce it. And if you can reproduce it, I can pull a thought, store it in a computer, and wirelessly transmit that to someone else who has an implant in their mind. And that can tell my brain to reproduce the exact same signal that person produced. And now I'm thinking what you're thinking, in theory.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Pretty
if you think about how the stuff, like, imagine if you went, like technology in general, if you went back in time to, like I was born in 1983, but imagine you go back to 1883. You just drop me there, but I have an iPhone, and you show people. They'd be like, dude, what kind of fucking witchcraft is this?
Yeah.
But that's how a lot of this sounds.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get there. There's going to be some practical application for it at some point. Like, you know, the people that were building ChatGPT knew about this 20 years ago, but like, and they were building it. Everyone was like, it's so impractical, it's never going to happen. And now it's here.
Yeah.
Everyone's using it. So it'll happen at some point, but not for a while.
Yeah, we can get down 800 rabbit holes. What do you think of all the AI stuff?
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT specifically, you know, I think you have to be careful in the sense that you can't rely on it 100% to write your stuff. You still have to edit it. But like, think about big famous people who write books all the time. They're not writing the book. Someone else is writing the book for them, and they just edit it.
Yeah.
They might be standing around, walking, pacing back and forth, talking out loud, while they have someone actually jotting down notes and writing it. But then the actual person whose name is on the cover of the book is reading it and, you know, validating it, making sure it sounds good, maybe tweaking it. That's essentially what ChatGPT can do for everyone now, is like give you the basic structure of thoughts. And then you're still the one that is stamping your name on what it says. So if you want to publish stuff that it says, you know, you can say, oh, that's not you writing it, that's AI writing it. Well, to a degree you can say that, but also it's like, well, no, I edited it. I told it what to write.
Well, yeah, it's to me, it's like a super fancy Google that just does more.
Yeah. And like for me, as an engineer, I tend to struggle with communicating things in a fancy or creative way or even direct way.
Yeah.
I can tell ChatGPT, I'm like, here's what I'm thinking. Say it like this. And it's like, boom. And I'm like, oh, that is brilliant. Are you going to say like, oh, you didn't say that? It's like, well, I did. I just didn't know how to say it that way.
Yeah, it's because like I had a guy on here who's been using it for like 2 years. He had early access to build his, they have like a Listen Up app. He's in the whole, like he was going way further. They have an app basically where people will tell you a story depending on the location you're at. You can listen to it, and it's a voice talking to you, and it can be in every language and different voices. I go, but it's not him. It's the AI's voice. It's like he gives them names: Roger, Bill, Sarah, whatever the fuck. And him and I were talking about it. And he's going like so far down it. He's like, but if I read a classroom of 30 people, and someone just handed in the papers, he's like, I could tell which ones are real, which ones are not. He goes, because they start to have all these similarities. And even my buddy yesterday, shout out to BJ Gadur, sends me this. He asks it, hey, can you build a workout like BJ Gadur would build a workout? And he sends it to me, and it's fucking trash. Yeah. And I'm like, if he ever made that, like I would unfriend him. You know, so it's like it knows, but it doesn't know. That's
what I'm saying. You have to be smart if you're going to use it. Like, you can't just say write something and then copy paste, like, here you go. It's like, no, that's not how it works. And not half the time, at least 10% of the time, you know, it's going to make up facts. Like, it makes up scholarly research all the time. And I'm like, can you show me the link where you found that? And it's like, here's the link. And I click it, it's like non-existent. Or it'll make up a source. It'll cite a source. Like, this group of people published this paper. And I search it. I'm like, that does not exist. And people know that. That's pretty well documented. So it's incredible, but you have to be smart how you're going to use it. And I don't know. I haven't been using it super long, maybe like 5-6 months just playing around with it. I don't have time to sit around and try and go down every possible use case for it. But
you're a real person who has real shit to do.
Yeah, I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
But
do you have a guess? Like, what if it's like, when does it just take over Starbucks and there's nobody at Starbucks?
I mean, whenever Starbucks wants.
Like, it could happen like a year?
It could happen today. It could happen 5 years ago.
So it's just like kiosks and like maybe one person in there?
Yeah. I mean, for Starbucks, it's ethical. You know, they lean more towards the social equity side. So they're like, nah, we want to make sure people are employed. If they really wanted to, they could do it.
Or like McDonald's or whoever.
Yeah. Yeah, they could have done it a while ago.
Interesting.
But in that regard, I mean, it is a thing we're talking about. Like, it's going to cause a lot of people to lose jobs.
Or have to acquire a higher level skill, basically.
That's the other thing, yeah. I mean,
where did those people go?
It's hard to, dude, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you think, like, how does a franchise work? If I, like, again, I'm not a scientist or an AI guy, but we run businesses here. Franchises work because they hire the lowest common denominator. They hire the cheapest fucking person possible to do the task that needs to be done. Yeah. Now, if they can be more profitable, but not even hiring the person and just having a minimal maintenance robots, I'm like, that is where it's going to go. the problem is like, you know, and I don't mean for the 15, 16-year-old kid, like they could probably do a different hustle, but if you're the 26-year-old and you have no skills, that's where it's like,
Yeah, that's
it's
the
going to hit
question.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the tough one. But I don't know. I mean, how do you motivate someone to want to further pursue their education and desire? I mean, like, I don't know. That's the question.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of work, not a lot of work, but I've done a lot of testing in the addiction community for the product that we built. And it really just, the main factor that comes down to whether or not you're going to recover is how bad do you want to recover? Like, where's that motivation and desire
Of all the things, like
and
that's
drive?
the number one.
If it's not there, I mean, you're not going to make it. There's a lot of other things, not just simply desire.
That's a huge one.
Community is extremely important. Making sure you have the right, other tools and treatment modalities that you can go through, because there is a physical aspect inside your brain when you're overcoming an addiction, but it's just pain. Like, to deny yourself, it's just pain.
Yeah.
How bad do you want to get through it? I mean, you're going to suffer. The question is, do you want to get through it?
Interesting. So like for you to go to pick this specific path of study, it was because of your own shit, basically.
Yeah, I kind of went down this path of, I want to study the brain. I want to study kind of the nervous system and like, what does stress and anxiety physically look like in the mind and body? Because that was my thought. It's like, if we can figure out what it physically looks like, there's got to be a way that we can physically shut that off.
Because like, when you're like a junior or something and it starts to become like, how do you like, I used to say like I never had anxiety my whole life.
Yeah.
Except we would call it the Sunday sickness when I was like in like middle school and high school, like where I would love Friday, I'd love Saturday, and Sunday would come about the time the Vikings are getting smoked. I'd start to feel shitty. And I'm like, God, why do I feel so bad? And then I did that in high school, and then I only had one like real job ever, and I would get it. And so I'm like, why do I feel so bad on Sundays? It's like, oh, this is called anxiety because I'm dreading what the fuck I have to go do Monday. I just didn't know as an 8th grader because I thought school sucked big time. So I knew it was there. But like, when for you was it like apparent, like, oh, this is becoming, I don't know if it was debilitating or what it was.
No, I never had like real anxiety. So like the difference between anxiety and say stress or like a fight or flight response, at least according to just the high level definitions of it. But anxiety is more like fear, worry, like you said, Sunday night, and I'm afraid of going into the week because I know what's ahead. That's not necessarily saying that your body is like tensing up, but you're just like dreading it. And you can kind of feel maybe like your chest is getting a little like heavy, and it's just like, ugh. Stress is more like my heart's pounding out of my chest, my muscles are tense, my mind's racing.
Like when you get an MRI.
Yeah,
panic, bro.
Yeah, like mild panic. Panic is on the severe side of a stress response. Everyone experiences stress, obviously. And then there are people who experience it so frequently that they get diagnosed as having PTSD or a panic disorder or acute stress disorder, other stress-related mental issues. And there's a physical component to that. For me, I never had the fear and worry. I mean, I think I did. Everybody has that to some degree, but that wasn't my problem. Mine was just, I was playing golf, and I would say up until I was 16, I never dealt with anything. I was always nervous, whatever. But I'd won some tournaments, some local tournaments, and I played well in some national tournaments. But it wasn't until, it was like, all right, I've got 1 year left to play well so I can go to a big college. In my mind, I'm like, I want to go to the best college I can possibly go. D1, ASU is like a top of the list for anyone playing golf in Arizona because, you got all the big shots that went there. And for whatever reason, just like that pressure I put on myself started causing a little bit more like severe stress responses when I'm on the golf course. Because I'd always felt it, but it didn't have a major impact. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is really like messing with me.
Like, so, you would play worse, or you would just like shit your pants, or like what?
You
know what I'm talking about? Like when you're so nervous, like you got to pee 18 times?
Yeah. It was really that. Yeah. I mean, trouble sleeping, night before a tournament, or, you wake up super early because you can't sleep.
But not like excited, like
Yeah, not excited, not
Yeah.
not the good kind. And there's a lot of PGA Tour players who will tell you this, yet they still win tournaments. But some people, like I guess some people have it really bad, some people have it a little not so bad. But for me, it wasn't like so bad, but it was bad enough that I would get off to a terrible start in like almost every tournament I played in, which sucked because after 3 or 4 holes, I was always over it. And then I'd shoot really well, generally speaking, finishing out my rounds. But it didn't matter because I got off to such a bad start that like I'm not even close to, competing. And I'm like, it was so like just exhausting. That's not the word. Like it happened so frequently that I just got burned out. I'm like, I'm so over this. Like this sucks. And that was when I dedicated myself. I'm like, look, I could go play a D2 school somewhere, maybe D1 somewhere. But like considering how I know that the sacrifice it would take to actually make it in a career playing golf, I'm like, I think I'm going to go try and dedicate my life to do something else. Because I was always like good at math and I liked engineering, and I kind of knew like I want to be in this space as well. But there's so few. What professional athletes are also engineers? Like it's really hard to,
Like usually it's like post. Like a guy will retire from the NFL and then become a doctor or something.
Or you have guys like a Bryson DeChambeau who, they kind of are self-learners. They just are obsessed with ideas that they just learn this stuff themselves. So there's smart guys out there. But in general, I knew, I'm like, if I go down an engineering route, there's no way I can go play golf too. Like this is not going to happen. Because engineering school is just insane. Like the amount of stuff you have to learn. There's no time to dedicate,
And at the time, you're still not over the heightened stress. So if you imagine what it is in college, it's not getting better at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just golf. Like I didn't have stress anywhere else in life. I mean,
really?
I had a social anxiety up until I was probably 20 years old. Like I hated anyone looking at me in a public setting. I'm like, no, I just want to chill. Now I'm totally the opposite. Mostly because I went through this business program that put you in front of people every day, and eventually you just get over it.
Yeah.
But for me, the golf aspect, I just like couldn't overcome that, and it was painful because I knew I was good enough to go play anywhere if I could just be consistent.
And what do you think it was? Because you care about it so much?
Yeah, I cared about it so much. You talk about this with guys you play golf with, but deep down, like you identify as golf. Like I am golf. And which is so dumb. Like, no, you're not.
I have a business called Jeremy Scott Fitness, dude. Yeah, I'm familiar.
You are fitness. It's like, yeah.
To some people, yeah, that what they think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's okay to have that identity as long as you know it's not really your identity,
or it's not all of who you are.
Yeah, it's not all of who you are. If you make that like this is it, well then yeah, you're gonna be like freaking out if.
Because if I'm not a golfer, who am I?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Who's your favorite golfer, by the way?
I mean, Tiger. Obviously, I didn't grow up really watching anyone pre-Tiger.
Yeah.
So I grew up right when Tiger was just dominating. So there's really no one else.
Yeah.
Phil, I guess my parents were more Phil fans, so I would watch Phil because my parents liked him. But Tiger, man, I mean, I didn't really.
He's a GOAT.
For a time, I was a huge Jordan Spieth fan because he was my age and played on PGA Tour events when he was 16. And for a time, he was winning like all these tournaments for a couple of years. And it's like, is he the guy? And then just, no.
I don't think you ever see another Tiger run ever.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
It's insane, dude. When you think about it.
It is.
Yeah. Because I'm like 14 when he's winning the Masters.
Yeah.
Dude, that was a million years ago.
Yeah.
And a dude who's like, you wear the red shirt because he wears the red shirt. You play the Tiger Woods video game. Yeah. Like everything is him.
Yeah, Tiger is golf.
Yeah.
Like you don't watch golf, you watch Tiger.
Yeah. And John Daly.
And John Daly.
Because Daly's the man.
Yeah, Daly. He is golf. Like, yeah, he's interesting.
He if you think about it, like, not to get off topic, he literally is what most people do in golf, though. Tiger is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Like, most people you'll never be Daly either, but your habits are closer to Daly's.
Yeah.
Probably most people who golf drink beers, smoke a couple cigarettes, and crush some balls.
They don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's strange. Although I don't remember when, but I guess, there's a story where Daly hits a bad drive. Someone in the gallery makes fun of him. And he tees one up and hits it right over the gallery.
That's badass.
And then I think he gets suspended for however long.
But like golf needs him.
Yeah.
Like he's important.
Someone like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not him exactly, but yeah.
We need someone with a little bit more character and personality. Right now, there's not really anyone exciting. Yeah. Golf post Tiger is just like.
I don't watch, dude.
It's tough.
Yeah. I don't care about it.
If you're not going to have a crazy personality, then you better be dominant, and golf doesn't have either of those right now.
I know. So you go through school, or I guess you get in, when you start going to college, you're like, you know what, I'm going to study their nervous system and stress, and this is what I want to do, or that just kind of came about later?
No, I knew I wanted to do it. I'd also grown up just being surrounded at, entrepreneurial events and startup events. My dad's a lawyer for helping startups get off the ground and tech companies, just do all their legal stuff. And so I've been around that space. And so like they were the rock stars in my life, like the people running companies, changing the world, creating technologies. I'm like, it's just so cool. Like you're making stuff that it doesn't exist right now and will someday. And just the amount of grind it takes to get a company off the ground from nothing. In my mind, I'm like, there's no one more badass than like those people. And so practically that's what I was like. I want to do something like that. I don't know what, but I want to do something related to stress and anxiety relief and also like start a company. So went through biomedical engineering, my 4 years, got my bachelor's, graduated, but I was like, I haven't made anything yet. Like, what am I supposed to do? I can't just go get a job. And the timing was insane timing. I was considering going to Duke University to get a master's degree in biomedical engineering because there were some researchers there doing some pretty awesome stuff. I visited there, and honestly, I was just like, I don't want to go here. Like, it's cool. It's Duke. It's beautiful.
It's cool to say.
But growing up from Arizona, it was so different than here. And I'm like, oh, this is just so different. And the professors I met there were not very welcoming. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't really want to be here.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, now I really don't know what I want to do. And then timing was insane. This guy, his name's Dr. William Jamie Tyler. He started a brain stimulation company like several years before I graduated. And I'd always known about it. And I don't know how this happened, but somehow he got a job at ASU to start his own lab to do neurostimulation for human performance enhancement. And I'm like, it's literally exactly what I want to do. Talked to him, called him, and he's like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. I'm like, whatever I want? Can I make this for performance anxiety? He's like, yeah, that would be incredible. And I'm like, all right, I'm in. Like, perfect. Get to stay at Arizona State, get to literally develop anything I want under one of the guys, like one of the top guys in the world who's pioneered the space. I'm like, there's nothing better. So yeah, I spent my 4 years as a Ph.D. just learning about all these different brain stimulation technologies, trying to get a feel for what was out there, what's practical for not only a golfer to take with them, but just the common everyday person who deals with stress and anxiety. And ultimately, can we develop stuff that gets people off of drugs, substances, medications? If not fully, at least to some degree, get people healthier.
And that's where Hoolest comes from.
Yeah, that's Hoolest.
So you created, we'll talk about that, and I'm going to go all the rabbit hole stuff just so people have a context. You created this, what do you call it, device?
Yeah, it's a device. It's a wellness device.
Yeah. I've used both. I've used the handheld and the headphones.
Yeah.
The headphones are gangster.
They're sick.
Yeah. This is way easier.
Yeah.
Now, but again, I don't mind the handhelds either. Like, that's how I started doing it for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, fuck, if I can get these headphones, dude, I'm like, this
Yeah.
is dope. So explain to people in a very quick way, like what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the headphones are custom built, so you won't find that on our website. So
you're gonna make them though.
We will, yeah.
Yeah,
but
they're
for
expensive.
Now, they're expensive, and we're trying to figure out how to produce it at a better way to make it more affordable. But
like, what would they cost?
Well, in an ideal world, I'd love it to be $399 or $299, $300
for the headphones.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
If we can get them $300, it'd be
what
insane.
would it really cost? Say like $1,000.
Well, the way they're being made now, yeah, it'd be like we sold our first 10. The ones you have were not it's like the second gen, I guess. First gen, we sold them for $1,000 because
That like Dr. Russ has.
yeah.
Shout out to Dr. Russell Teams that does her brain and spine. Russ, you're awesome. Those are fine there. These are way better.
Yeah.
I say that just because when we talk price points and like I'll show these on my Instagram and people can see them. Things like Normatec boots and stuff that I use every day, like what are Normatec's $1,000?
Yeah.
Just for the legs only, not the hips, butt, arms, whatever. I'm like, again, I'm a fitness person, so like I'll pay for the things, but I think people who really give a shit, if it was $300, dude, that's easy.
Yeah.
So
It is super easy.
for sure. What are the handhelds?
Yeah, so I'll just tell you real quick what they are. So these tools that we're talking about, these headphones and then this little handheld device, they're essentially tools that activate a part of your nervous system that calms you down in seconds or minutes even. Minutes or seconds even. But it calms you down fast. That's the idea. It's a non-drug substance-free way to just chill out if you're having a stress response. And the way it works is it's essentially uses electrical impulses that are delivered to a small branch of a nerve called your vagus nerve. And it activates this branch of the vagus nerve that essentially the effect is it just calms your nervous system down, calms your body down. So the vagus nerve is the physical connection between your mind and your body. And, it controls and plays a part in controlling all kinds of automatic functions like your heart rate, your breathing rate, your digestion, blood pressure, like all kinds of things. And so what the main, at a high level, the main function of the vagus nerve is to help pull you out of a fight or flight state and keep you in that rest and digest state. So the nervous system can be broken up into your sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic is the fancy way of saying your fight or flight response. Parasympathetic is your rest and digest. Parasympathetic, think parachute, slowing down. And so we're always going in and out of these states, and we need to, right? Like you need to be able to go into a fight or flight state when you need to go into a fight or flight state.
How often do you think people are in that, like every day?
95% of people are in it 95% of the time.
Like, what do you think it was like 100 years ago?
Probably the exact opposite.
You think like if you're on like the Oregon Trail, like
Yeah.
you're just cruising along, like Jake gets bit by a snake and you panic and then he just dies.
That's probably your fight or flight for the day.
And then the rest of it, you're just chilling.
Yeah, you're chilling.
And you think most people live in it almost all day.
Yeah, and it's in urban environments, that's for sure. If you're part of your job is to be around people all the time, to be on the internet every day, to be on a computer, there's no way you're not in a mild to moderate sympathetic state all day. You're just sustained in it, which is not great because to be in that state, there's a lot of bad things like anxiety, depression, a lot of mental health issues, but also physical health. When you get injured or if you get sick, your body needs to be in that rest and digest state to heal quicker and more effectively. But a lot of people, they get sick and stay sick because they're stressed out all the time and they're just constantly living in this fight or flight. They can't sleep. And when you can't sleep, that's like the best time for your body to heal. So now you're really like messed up.
And most people sleep like trash.
Yeah. Most people I know will never say like, I sleep so great. I sleep great. Just saying. Like, I don't know why. I'm pretty sure it's because I use these types of technologies all the time.
Is it part of your sleep routine?
Not part of my sleep routine. I use it every day just because one, I have it and like it's easy to use.
And you created it.
And it feels good. It feels great when you do it.
You're not
nice.
just the president. You're also a client.
Yeah, I'm also an avid user of it. And I got all kinds of cool data showing how it affects your body. And it's like, this thing works. Like this actually pulls you out of a sympathetic state and puts you in that rest and digest, which is pretty cool.
So if you had to guess, like most people are barely in their rest and digest throughout the day.
I would say,
You're talking minutes.
More people than not. According to the interactions I have with people, it seems a lot of people are just, they may not seem like it, but they are. If you were to take a measurement of their heart rate variability, it'd probably be pretty low most of the time.
I do. No, it's 100% true because I could have the worst fucking day ever and I come in here and no one will ever know.
Yeah.
I just bury it.
Yeah.
Until I
Most people don't really show it, but
yeah. So if like the nervous system, the basics and stress, right? Like how does the stress like manifest itself like in the mind and then like in the body? Like what does it look like?
yeah, I mean the basics that we all know is, your heart rate's elevated, your muscles are tense, your breathing is super shallow and quick. Those are kind of the obvious ones.
Your posture becomes trash too.
Yeah, posture. I mean, eating habits, like you don't sleep,
Drinking, drugs.
Yeah, a lot of those things like are signs. It's like one way that we can measure, I guess, your stress response. Just one way. There's a lot of ways, but one of the ways that I kind of took the path into learning was this thing called heart rate variability. And so there's heart rate.
Explain to people like who don't have like a Whoop strap and don't know what the hell you're talking about.
No, so heart rate, everyone's familiar with that. It's your heart rate. What is my heart rate right now? It's 70, it's 80, it's whatever. My heart rate just dropped. That obviously means I'm more relaxed. It's like, well, no, not really. Heart rate changes all the time. If you have a flat heart rate, that means you're dead. Like everyone's heart rate is always going up and down all the time, all day long. Now there's this thing called heart rate variability. Now that's the metric that does indicate what stress and anxiety or stress and calm look like. Heart rate variability is the measure of how much your heart rate's going up and down. So if your heart rate is fluctuating, you got these big ups and downs in your heart rate over a period of time, that means you have a big heart rate variability. There's a lot of variability in your heart rate. If your heart rate is fluttering and it's just like very small fluctuations, that would be a low heart rate variability, right? There's not much variability in your heart rate. A fluttering heart rate indicates you're in a fight or flight state. Like think about it. If you're sprinting, your heart rate goes up, right? It soars. It typically stays there. It's not like coming way down and then going back up. It's like stuck there for a good reason. You need it to be there to like pump blood throughout your body. But when you're sprinting, you are literally in a fight or flight state. Like you're sprinting, you're like activating everything. And so the concept of that fluttering heart rate when you're sprinting, when you're just chilling and you're at baseline and you're just look at your resting heart rate, it's not going to be 180. It'll be at 70, 80, 90 if you're stressed out. But if it's fluttering, that means you're in a stressed out state.
Even if it's low.
Even if it's low. Yeah, a lot of people have, low resting heart rates. But if you were to take a measure of their heart rate variability, there's like no variability there. And that's an indicator that their body is fighting. It's fighting something.
It's weird because like when you go get a physical, they don't talk about this.
No, they
don't give a shit.
The reason is because heart rate variability is not a metric in itself. You can look at your heart rate, but you can't just look at heart rate variability. Like there is no metric that's just like, this is heart rate variability. It's actually broken down into like 8 different metrics.
Is that like what, like
confusing?
Like I had the Whoop strap forever.
Yeah.
And I'd wear it and it would like, oh, you can work hard today. You can not work hard today. But sometimes, I'm just being honest, no offense, guys, I thought it was bullshit. Because I would do stuff and I'd like hike the Grand Canyon and like, oh, you had like a moderate day. And I'm like, no, bro, I almost fucking died today.
Yeah, no, it is. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. So there's a few basic things about heart rate variability is it's broken down into like 8 different ways to actually measure it. All of those 8 different ways are slightly different. And they tell you a slightly different thing. And so because of that, it's complicated. Like most people, there is no just like, this is the HRV strap. There are now, but say you have 10 different heart rate variability monitors like the Whoop. Well, now you have to ask, well, which of those metrics are they reporting? And not only that, but what's the like algorithm they're using to get you that number? Because there's different ways of calculating it. And so that's why Oura Ring, Whoop, this little heart rate monitor that I have here, like they'll all give you a slightly different number.
But you need like an expert to basically break it down for you if you don't know what you're looking at.
That's the thing. There's so many ways to measure it, but they don't really tell you what it means. They tell you this is your stress number. You're stressed. You're stressed right now. You should probably take it easy. It's like, how do you know that? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
what
Like,
is
how
my
does it
stress number?
How
What
does
that
it
even
know?
mean?
Or it would be your perceived output. You worked this hard today. And it's like, well, how do you know that?
Yeah. I mean, that's why HRV is so I don't want to say it's awesome when you do it right and you know what you're looking for. But I think no one's really done it well yet. A lot of these people are trying, but like you said, Whoop and Oura Ring are probably the biggest, names out there. But half the people I talk to who have it, they're like, yeah, I don't really know what it means. It just tells me I'm stressed, and I try to keep my stress levels low.
Or like why I did it honestly was for the sleep latency, to see how many times I would have disturbances.
Yeah.
And can I bring those down? And if I do, like if I drank or if I smoked weed or if I did nothing, like what is better? You know, and I would look at it.
So, I mean, but even that though, like, if you drink the night before,
oh yeah, dude,
you're gonna have terrible sleep. Why do you need an HRV sensor to tell you that?
Well, because what people would say, like, oh hey, when I take edibles, I sleep really well. I'm like, I think you fall asleep.
Yeah, fall asleep.
But then, this is for me speaking freely, like when we would do drugs before you go to sleep, I would fall asleep like a rock, bro. You could break into my house and murder me. I probably wouldn't have woken up initially. But then when I would wake up, I would feel tired.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't feel like the sleep was legit. Yeah. But yet you're under the assumption of, well, you can sell yourself, I guess, and the reason like, well, if I have a couple of drinks, I'll sleep better. If I do this, I'll sleep better. But in reality, I wasn't. It was way worse.
Yeah.
But we already have data on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like.
But you think this one's a better one? This Rhythm 24?
Rhythm 24 is a good one. And it's really not the sensor per se. It's more the app you're using to run the calculations. Because like I said, there's a lot of different ways to calculate it. You need a good algorithm. You need a trusted and tested algorithm. And so I use an app called HRV Logger, it was developed by a guy named Marco Altini out in Italy, who's also an advisor to Oura Ring. So he's legit. I've been following him for years on heart rate variability analysis. He's like one of the top guys. So he has an app that does all the calculations, and it's like super accurate.
And does it correlate to like stress and anxiety and performance?
Yeah, totally. Now it does. We're still trying to figure out like when's the best time to take a measurement. What's the best protocol to use to take a measurement? Because think about from my like experience and understanding, there's really only two ways that knowing your HRV is valuable. That's first thing in the morning when you take your baseline HRV. Because first thing in the morning before anything has happened in the day, your HRV is like, that's really your baseline. That's telling you the state of health of your nervous system. Once you start your day, it's always fluctuating because there's just so much happening. So like taking a random measurement in the middle of the day, like that really doesn't tell you anything.
Because you could have been triggered.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the word I'll use. Triggered 47 times by 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it doesn't really tell you much. Like, because your nervous system is always going to be fluctuating. But the best measurement is, what is your baseline nervous system? Are you a person whose baseline is fight or flight? You don't want that. You want to be in a baseline when you wake up in a rest and digest. So that's the first measurement, is like really just a 5-minute measurement in the morning. Well, now this app can do 1-minute measurement. So it's like incredible. I do it every day, just a quick snapshot. The other is if you are having like a true fight or flight response, or like a panic attack or response to a stressor, you can quantify that, but you don't really need a sensor to tell you you're having a panic attack. Like, it's coming.
Yeah. You feel like you don't feel good.
Yeah. You don't feel good. That's where you can tell what practices are truly affecting my nervous system in a good way. Because you already know I need to do something to change this, like whether it's breathing or mindfulness or vagus nerve stimulation. I need to do something to recover from this. And so the cool thing about our device, well, first, like mindfulness, meditation, breathing practices, those have all been shown to increase heart rate variability, but it takes a tremendous amount of focus and effort and mental energy to do them consistently. And if you're having a panic attack, you don't have that focus. Like, you can't just sit there for 10 minutes and just do mindfulness. You can't. It's really hard to slow your breath down when you're doing that. the cool thing about vagus nerve stim is it does all the work for you. All you have to do is just press it against your vagus nerve on the side of the neck, and it's activating that response for you. And it feels good. And our data shows that when you do it, we show that we can increase your heart rate variability by, anywhere from 20 to 40%. The headphones, I have some case studies. I've doubled my HRV after a 10-minute session. So it's like, this thing is effective.
And you do it every day?
I do it every day.
Like how long?
Because it's safe. There's nothing, you can't overdo it.
Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, if you're not used to it and you got it on, first of all, when I got the handset from Dr. Russ, I thought the middle thing was just like the battery, the little lights.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was the battery. And so I'm just keep pushing the buttons, and I gave it to Monica, who sits where you're sitting right now, and just lit her ass up, dude. She's like, "Oh my God, well, how do you do this?" I'm like, "Oh, my bad, dude." Because if you don't find it, like nothing happens. Yeah. But then when you touch it, it's like, it'll wake your ass up real quick. Yeah. It's
funny you say that because I was just doing a little test study recently, testing what's called so the branch that we're targeting is called the auricular branch of the vagus nerve, which is kind of just under the ear and all around the ear.
Almost like your jawline, yeah.
Kind of like your jawline. We're targeting it at kind of a unique place. Most people target it inside the ear, but we're kind of like right up underneath the ear. So I was testing that versus another standard location, which is on the front side of the neck called the cervical vagus nerve, and just trying to tell, like, what's the difference? And so cervical vagus, it can be a little dangerous because it's right next to your carotid, and if you apply too much pressure, if you're someone that has high blood pressure or heart disease, I mean, you could faint because it restricts blood flow to your brain if you press too hard. So I don't recommend that to most people unless you're trained. But I was pushing it in there, and the second you hit the nerve, your heart rate drops by like 10 to 15 beats per minute, like literally in 3 seconds. It's nuts. So that's why it's like, hey, be careful with this.
Yeah, no, it does. I will say, like, it works now. Well, I'll ask this first before I start talking about that. Like, stress levels of, like, the average American has got to be the highest probably now it's ever been in history.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you look at, like, what are the moments that, if you do any research or studies where you see people, like, that are the most stressed, whether it be, like, sports or public speaking, airplanes, like the common ones we hear from people, that's the big thing. Like public speaking, or if I'm in a large crowd, if I'm stuck, my wife will do this like on an airplane. Yeah. If she gets stuck on the tarmac, she'd be like, I'm starting to freak out. I'm like, bro, we're in it. I can't move the plane for you. Yeah. And like she'll get hot. She'll like really start to like just amp up. And I'm like, that's probably the most common places you see it.
That's literally like a perfect place because
you're trapped.
It's so small. You can just have it in your pocket. So you just pull it out, apply it there, just crank the thing up and blast yourself, and then synchronize your breathing with it to slow your breathing down. And it takes 60 seconds, and you're good. You're like, I'm back.
I'll say this, and that's where I was going to ask about the breathing part of it too, like how that did come about and how you kind of decided on that protocol. Because we've had breathing people on here before, who are just go berserk on it. And again, I come from this school of, back in the day, if you would have told me when I'm 16, hey man, just slow your breathing down, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here, dude. This is crazy shit. But it is the most important thing you do every day because if you can't breathe, you're dead. And we've had these dudes come in here, and I have had an MRI once, and I never knew what it was like until I go in. And first of all, I go in, I'm like, why is the room so cold, for one? And I'm wearing this little paper gown and shit. And they're like, all right, dude, you're going in. So I go in like, oh, this is going to be cool. Eyes open. Mistake. And then within about 10 seconds, straight panic, homie. Like, my heart rate was 200 fucking beats a minute, like, through my neck. And I'm like, dude, do not be a little bitch and hit this panic button. So, but at the time, I already had the Hoolest, and I had been going through the 5 seconds in through the nose, 15 seconds out through the mouth. Now, I'm under no assumption that I was really breathing that slow when I was in there, but I was probably doing 4 or 5 breaths a minute.
Sure.
And that's the only reason, and I swear to God, that I made it through that. Otherwise, it would have been a minute, maybe 2, and I'd have been like, nah, dude, I can't do this. I was panicking.
Yeah, totally.
I never do that either.
And unless if you weren't trained on like doing those slow breathing, you probably would not have been able to do it, or at least it would have been a lot more difficult.
Oh, dude, you know how hard it is to breathe 3 breaths in a minute? If you've never tried it?
Oh, I know. When I was testing it, almost no one could do it.
Yeah, because like Rust goes, hey man, try this. And so I put my iPhone out and I'm like,
That's pretty hard.
I would do like 1 or 2, and then the third,
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, I can't breathe. Or
So
you get lightheaded.
It's funny. The reason we chose that is there's endless breathing, techniques.
Just so people know what we're listening, we say it's 5 seconds in through your nose is how I do it.
Yeah.
And do 15 out through your mouth. Because you can't do 15 out through your nose. I mean, Wim Hof probably can, but I can't.
Yeah.
So that's how we do it. So if you do the math, that's 3 breaths in a minute.
3 breaths in a minute. It's a slow exhale too. It's not like
no, you have to like really, you got to time it.
Yeah, and there's tricks too. Like, well, I'll explain that in a second.
You decided on the 5 and 15 because
So I was, after talking with Russ and a lot of other people as well, I kind of learned that in the holistic health space, there really is no one modality or one trick that works for everybody. I mean, maybe there is, but you really want to combine as many things as you can. We were talking before we even started this, like there's people that are trying to learn 17 different biohacking methods. That's probably too much. But the idea is
maybe learn one thing at a time. Yeah.
If you can, like, if I can stimulate my vagus nerve and I can meditate and I can, get some laser therapy, like it's only going to be even more beneficial.
It's all at the same time.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
Like there's no harm in doing that. If anything, it's only going to be more helpful if you're trying to recover from something. So this idea of like, wait, why can't we like train people to breathe with it too? Because slow breathing is a really powerful way to slow your body down. Like literally you can watch your heart rate change every time you inhale and exhale. When you inhale, your heart rate jumps up. When you exhale, it jumps down. When you force exhale, it goes way down. If you plug your nose and you like try to breathe out of your nose, not like hard, maybe like 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
You're just pushing out, but you're not letting it come out. Your heart rate will go like way down for a split second. It doesn't stay down. It comes back up.
Yeah.
But I saw that and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a massive drop in heart rate. And anyone can do that. Now again, I learned that, from watching certain, mental health practitioners just teaching this tactic, but they're like, you got to be careful because you can pass out if you do it too hard. And then the 3 breath per minute was a combination of that slow forced exhale, which is really, again, it's hard to do. And then there's a guy named Dr. Richard Brown, who is from New York University, I believe. I haven't seen much of him lately, but he has some breathing videos. And there's one where it's just like a 3 breath per minute practice, and it's like a very slow exhale. And he's like, this is the best breathing technique if you're really agitated and having like a panic attack. Which to me, I'm like, cool. If you're the guy, you're the doctor, you're the one who like is an expert, we'll go with that one. So that was the main reason. And then the final reason was when it comes to stress relief, anxiety relief, often people are looking to just feel better than what they're feeling in that moment. Like it doesn't feel good to be in that state of being stressed and anxious, right? That's why people smoke. That's why they do nicotine. That's why they do drugs, alcohol, because it makes them feel different.
Escape or numb.
It's an escape.
Yeah.
Alter. Almost everyone knows it's bad for them. They know that this is not good, but it doesn't matter. The desire to escape is stronger, and they're like, I just want to feel better. And so the other reason why we chose that slow exhale is because I had never felt any floaty, like dizziness sensation. I don't want to say dizzy, but it made me feel like I was tripping for like a few minutes afterwards. I'm like, I just want to sit here and not move. My fingers are tingling. My arms feel heavy. And I'm like, that is nice. Like no one talk to me right now. Like I am chilling. I'm not just saying the 3 breath by itself, the 3 breath plus the stim. There's nothing like that combination if you're looking for a feeling. And then I'm like, that feeling was like I just did a strong hit of some type of any kind of nicotine, like whether it's a cigarette or dip or something. I'm like that. I was buzzing, straight buzzing for 5 minutes.
Do you used to chew?
I chewed in college for 2 years. Probably. I guess I
chewed for like 10, bro. 10. A decade.
My Ph.D. advisor got me into it. He's like, hey, you should do this because like when you're writing your dissertation, staying up in the middle of the night because it just helps keep you alert.
What an asshole.
I know. I'm like,
what a prick.
All right, I'll do it. And I did it. I'm like, Oh, frick, now I'm hooked. But
Yeah. I do a speech I do, and I always share origin story, and I tell how addicted I used to be. And the moment I realized I was a senior in college, and I would wake up and put a chew in my upper lip in the shower as I started my day because my bottom lip was so raw from chewing a tin the day before.
Oh, man.
And even in that moment, I'm like, you know what? I'm not addicted. I can quit whenever I want to. And then it was like 5 more years before I could punt it. But no, you do chase that high forever.
Yeah, it's just
I don't get that high from the vagus nerve stim, but it is relaxing. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the thing. It's not the same, but I don't know any non-drug, non-substance technique that offers a stronger feeling than that. I mean, you can slow your breath down and get lightheaded, but that's not comfortable. That's like I'm lightheaded. This was like that feels good. I mean, for me, I don't do that technique all the time because it does like knock me out for 10 minutes. And I can't really do anything. But I do that before bed, and then I'll lay back and I'm like, oh, I feel so good. And I'm like, it's safe. It's not addictive. You're not putting anything in your body. If anything, it's good for you because we're strengthening that vagus nerve response. And if you do that all the time, you may not need that. You might be in a position where you're in an MRI and you're freaking out and you're like, wait, I know how to breathe because I trained myself how to do this, and I'll slow down. It's like, that's great.
It matters. Well, I practice like just driving in my car on the way home. Like I'll do the breathing, and it's not the same because and I will say this, like when you do have the stem hooked up and you breathe at the same time, and I like to put sunglasses on.
Yeah.
And just like chill because I don't have much quiet in my day.
Yeah.
People always are here talking shit, and there's always things going on. So if I have no screens around and nothing, and I don't have to have music or anything, and it's just like almost silence, I can put that on. I'm like, yeah, I can chill, which is actually like a nice. And I don't think most people have that in their day at all.
Yeah. Have you ever had like a moment where maybe you didn't recognize it, but someone did? They're like, you are stressed right now. Like, go sit and chill. Like my wife catches this a handful of times. So I come home and I'm fired up. I don't even know because this is how I operate at work because there's a million things to do. I carry that home with me and I don't realize it. And she'll be like, dude, go sit on the couch and do your Verilief. And that's the name of the vagus nerve stimulator. And I do it and I can like feel my shoulders like just it like feels like something's coming off me, and I'm like, oh, like she was right. Like that feels so good. I feel way better.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I'm a serial killer, bro. Like this is what I do all day. Like I'm always fucking on one.
It's so nice.
Yeah. No, it is. For if nothing else, for people, I would say if you're a person who is just like alive, you're probably stressed, you know.
Yeah.
And if you have a job and kids and shit, like your life comes at you quick.
Yeah.
So integrating something like this with the breathing, I think, goes a long way. But I'm gonna ask this too, like why is a healthy like vagus nerve activity like important? Like people are listening like, well, what the hell? Why does it even matter? Because most people, I do think if you can. Well, what does it cost? First of all, what is the price point?
Yeah, we have the two models we have. We have the Prime model, which is $399, and then we have the Mini model, which is really good for portability and traveling and just keep it in your pocket, pull it out anytime you need it. That's $199. And both products come with, any type of electrical nerve stimulator has a consumable component to it, like every single one. You either have to replace these gel pad or sticky pads that you apply to your body to deliver the electricity, or a conductive paste or a gel that after a while that runs out. So we have a totally unique and patented electrode that we designed ourselves. And they're these dry electrodes that don't require any conductive gel or paste, so it's clean. You don't have to there's no setup time when you're traveling. Like you don't want to have to carry a bottle of like lube with you and squeeze it onto your device.
Whatever you're into, judgment.
You don't have to, but it is enjoyable for some. But but it's just like it's so easy. And so the electrodes are stored in the device, so it's super fast setup time and easy to use anytime you're out there. Each product comes with 24 pairs when you buy it, so you get a ton of use out of it. The Mini, because they're smaller, they don't last as long, so you maybe get 6 months or more on your first order. The Prime, which is twice the size, the electrodes last way longer. They last like a month before you have to replace them. So you're looking at like 2 years of use when you buy the Prime, which long term it's definitely the best value. And it's a way better experience because it has larger electrodes, which are way more comfortable than the small ones. But even the small ones are fine.
It lights you up. Yeah.
It's still pretty strong. Yeah.
Yeah, because it reminds me of almost like how in college you would do like STEM treatment.
Yeah.
But like times like 100.
It's targeted and precise. That's why it feels like it lights you up. If you were to apply this on your
Well,
body,
like,
you probably wouldn't feel it.
dude, I always do 100 miles an hour and everything, so I only do the highest level.
Yeah.
I'm never doing like what does Normatec boots come out? Like I think it's level 1 through 7.
Yeah.
I don't even know what 6 through 1 feels like.
Yeah.
I just immediately go to number 1, bro.
You probably can't feel it.
Yeah, I'm not even trying. Like, or what are those little Theraguns? 100% power.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do anything else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good thing about this is, I mean, our product, even at max power, like it's totally safe. And there's the Prime is twice as powerful as the Mini.
But it forces you
even
to like just chill and be like, if you move around with it,
Yeah, no.
yeah, it gets wild
Yeah, you don't want to move it.
in a hurry.
It's a good point. Like using it forces you to chill, but you don't have to be in a place that you have to like be still. You can be out and about. You can be in any public setting. You can be in a plane. You can be inside the tunnel going into the plane and use it. I mean, a lot of places. It's pretty sweet.
So when you're doing like the research to get into this, are you looking at like people's daily practices to like reduce stress and anxiety, like outside of it? Like, hey, what are the best things we see people do? Like you mentioned, like meditation and breathing, whatever. Like when you look at it, like, hey, how do we get these people to be the most chill?
Yeah. At the time, I wasn't looking at them. I was hyper focused on just developing a super simple tool that I could use on the golf course that worked fast. Again, like I need like nearly immediate relief. I need it to be drug free. So I was looking at all the tools available, and nothing was designed, good enough. You had these other devices, that are handheld, but they were too big for me. Like I didn't want to take this big device around with me. And then the other ones just had wires, and you got to plug it into yourself. I'm like, I'm not going to do that on the golf course either. So that was the main thing, was just let's make it super user friendly for people that travel and they're out and about and they need something right now in any environment. They don't have time to sit around.
Is that the first time you use it, like on the golf course? I guess like in terms of like performance?
Yeah, first time it wasn't my device. It was I guess now they would be a competitor product, but there's a device out there you put in your ear canal. This is the research I did. I did ear canal stimulation in my schooling as well as side of the neck. But it was I instantly noticed it. Like I did it for probably 3 or 4 minutes in the golf cart, like driving up to the green. And then you're standing over the putt and like you can tell, like my arms are heavy. And then hitting the putter was like just way smoother. And I swear, like I make more putts when I use this. And we actually did a putting study as part of my Ph.D. We didn't target the auricular vagus. We targeted other cervical nerves on the back of the neck, but they all communicate with the same region in your brainstem. So effectively, almost the same effect. Effectively the same effect. Yeah, nice.
Doctor.
I'm a doctor. So we demonstrated that 10 minutes of stimulation on the back of the neck, golfers made more putts. They would make more putts. The missed putts were closer to the hole, and their overall feel of each putt was significantly higher than those that got a placebo treatment. And as any golfer, or really any elite athlete knows, feel is probably the most important thing that you need to lock into if you're going to get in the zone. The zone is where your peak performance happens. If you're not feeling good, like if you don't feel like you're in the motion, then you're typically in the mechanical state of mind where you're just thinking mechanically, which is bad. And so,
well, because golf has to be like the ultimate choke sport, doesn't it?
Probably up there, I would say.
Because if you think about like, okay, it's the NBA. You're coming down. It's full speed. You're dribbling like Steph Curry pulls up and shoots. You don't really have a chance to choke. You make the shot or you miss the shot.
So fast.
You can't really think about it. And you can play a great football game and not score a touchdown. You can actually play a great basketball game and not score a point. Golf is just you and the ball, dude. All you're doing is either choking or not choking, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's all in your head.
It is. Like,
wild.
I'm so passionate about this, so I could like talk.
You're like a kicker in the NFL, but every shot is a kick.
Yeah,
And it's you to fuck it up or you to do well.
It's insane. I think that's why I loved golf so much, because it was so mental, so much mind stuff. I loved anything mind and brain related. But like any fine motor movement sport is probably very high potential choke sport as well. Like, just because when you're stressed, if you have to make really small motions, I mean, you're going to see. I mean, my favorite commercial, one of my top commercials ever was when they were promoting, it had to have been in like 2005 or something, like the Tiger Woods game.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Tiger is just like on the putting green, leaning on his putter, and there's some amateur like lining up his putt. Tiger's just watching him, and the amateur gets up. All of a sudden, his knees just start like shaking like violently, and he backs off. He takes a breath and then walks up again. Just knees start shaking violently, and Tiger's just like, "You gonna be all right, man?" And it's just like it ends. But it's like, that's golf. Like, you see when people are freaking out, and basketball and football. Like, you don't really see that.
No, and even if it's so fast.
Yeah, it's so fast, and a lot of them will say like I choked, and they probably did. But yeah, I mean, in golf, it's just so.
The margin for error
it's
is
tight.
Real small.
And so that's why this is really cool as a golf product even, is you can just hang it on your golf bag, and then you just pull it out, do like 30 seconds with it, take 2 slow breaths. That took you literally 30 seconds, and then just go up and hit your putt, hit your shot. It totally does like help kind of reduce muscle tension in your shoulders. You feel a little bit slower, which makes it easier to get into the feel of what you're trying to do. If you're trying to, mechanically swing your way around the golf course, that always crumbles under pressure.
And it looks like, if people on YouTube are watching, it looks like a lighter, basically. Yeah. Like about that size.
This is
give or take.
I don't know. We have 2 versions, but
yeah.
This is just a fun color. They're all black, but this one's just cool.
Like, what if someone, I guess, did you look at it when people are in the middle of like I don't want to say like a panic attack, or like they're in the middle of their stress shit, like use it as it's happening? Like, is that like, I'm sure like, obviously it's always, you're proactive, you have a routine, you goes into it, but hey, I'm on the airplane, I'm starting to trip balls. Let me just put this on, breathe with it, try to be in my space. Is that like the application?
Yeah. I mean, yes to all the above applications. So we never did those in our official clinical studies. It's really hard.
Like, what research went behind like the method you guys like put together?
So it started out with, let's try and simulate a panic attack in somebody.
How the fuck do you do that?
Well, you get someone's consent first who has PTSD or panics or whatever.
So you get like literal like clinical shit.
Yeah.
Like, you bring them in. Wow.
You bring them in and you tell them we're going to try and simulate a panic attack in you.
Do they like tell you like what?
Yeah.
Okay, shit.
Yeah, they'll tell you what they're afraid of.
Like, if I'm like, hey man, it's clowns, bro.
You show them clowns.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
You have a clown come in and just like.
That's crazy.
So
people sign up for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you explain what they're doing and you have the proper, personnel in place, that if an emergency happens, like you can take care of it.
Yeah.
It's all fine. You give them consent, they sign it, you do the whole, it's IRB approved. Like, we're not just doing this, You don't go to Wells Fargo and like freak people out. Yeah. No, it's very tightly controlled, and it takes a long time to get these things approved. But that's part of the Ph.D. process. It takes years to do this stuff. But so we did that, and it was crazy. We had the one guy, we did it, military vet, PTSD. We played 5 minutes of fireworks by himself in a room.
Jesus.
His resting heart rate went up to like 170 when he's just sitting there.
Fuck.
And then we turn it off, and he's just like visibly like he's totally dissociated. And this wasn't our product. This was a super early prototype that I had built that goes inside the ear, but same branch. Flip the switch, and it's just heart rate drops like almost back down to baseline, like back into the upper 90s or something.
And then like he can verbally tell you like, hey, this is.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's like, so this guy specifically, you can actually watch there's a film about it. It's somewhere on our website, but this was part of a research project.
What's the website?
Hoolest.com, HOOLEST.com, like the coolest, but with an H.
Boom.
We were featured in an ESPN 30 for 30 documentary when I was getting my PhD.
No shit.
Yeah, because this research was like,
which one is it?
No one was doing this. It's called Mind Gurus.
I think
it's
I
a series.
seen the clip of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a 10-minute segment in that 30-minute episode. It was so cool. But that guy I was telling you, he's in there, and we didn't document like that specific test that I told you about, but it's just cool. Like he was a golfer as well, and so we went out and did this putting competition and had the prototype, and it totally works. So we didn't do a ton of testing because these tests take a lot of time, so you can't just clinically test everything. But anecdotally, I get feedback all the time. We've got tons of mental health practitioners who have these on hand as they're trying to help their clients work through something. They might dissociate and have a panic attack, and so they'll pull this out and be like, here, like, use this, put it to your neck, crank it up, and it just brings them back. Does it work for every single person? No, of course not. Some people hate that feeling. They're like, what the heck was that? Like, I don't ever want to feel that again.
If you're not used to it, yeah, it's a little gnarly.
Yeah, it can freak people out.
But I think, dude, if you're like, again, like, and I'll use Dr. Russ because that's how we met. Like, when you're in like chronic pain or you're in pain, you're not, I'm saying you'll do anything to get rid of it, but like you're open to a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So imagine if you have like debilitating like anxiety and stress and it's fucking your life up. If you're telling me like I want to zap, that's how I describe it. My technical term is you zap yourself in the neck. Well, that's way better, dude.
It's way better.
I would think.
Yeah, and it works. I mean, like I've had people call me being like, hey, I like just bought your device because I used it at my doctor's office and I had a panic attack and I used it and it like instantly pulled me out of it and I'd never experienced that before. And I'm like, that's incredible. Like, cool. Thank you.
So when you're putting this together, like, is that the number one application? You're like, I'm trying to get, stress, anxiety, or like just this chronic, nervous problem for people?
Dude, that's the question, man. Like, who's this for?
Yeah.
Obviously, the basic answer is it's for everyone that has stress and
well,
anxiety.
that makes the most money. Yeah.
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 But it's not really for everyone because there's some people that can't tolerate it. So we have a list of contraindications, who this is not for. It's in our FAQ page on our website.
Like, do you legally have to do that or no? Because if you think,
there's some things legally.
Yeah, because like, have you ever seen like the Pso-Right for your psoas? It's like that little plastic you basically can lean onto it. Like in your psoas is, iliacus, and it's like you can push it in internal organs. That thing comes in the mail, dude, and there's no directions. And I'm like, how do you like, how is there not like some like liability?
How
like,
are they not
like,
sued already?
Yeah, because like I know where my stuff, actually this is not a plug, like they're not paying me. It is a good product. If you really understand like where your psoas is and how you dig into it and the attachment points, but there's no fucking directions.
Yeah.
It's like 3 pictures. I'm like, dude, you're going to kill yourself. So that's why I wonder with your guys' stuff, like if there's like a breakdown, like, yeah, because I think in the handheld one, you guys have a whole, because you say like, it's not just the neck. Is it your wrist too?
So the bigger one, we don't push it super hard, but we let you know that you can also use this for other applications. If you're like a biohacker type, we show you can apply it to your wrist. You can stimulate
like people who like sun their balls and shit.
The median nerve. Yeah. People do wild things.
Dude, what is with all this? I don't want to get off track, but like, what is with all? Like, I think people want to do 18 different biohacks. I'm like, dude, you just got to lift weights and you got to move around and you got to eat real food.
Well, if you look at it, like most of the people that are doing biohacking, they're not like super into fitness. They're super into the earth and like eating.
But dude, you can't biohack your way to like be like a savage. Like it's just, you got to do the shit.
Yeah. I think the basic biohacks that you need, I think cold plunge is good. I don't think you need to be like
Do you like cold plunges?
No.
You can miss me with all that forever.
No, I hate it.
They sent me an ice barrel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I did it.
It
sucks.
I don't do it because I don't think I need it. Maybe I do. I might need it, but
if you tell me like it's like super awesome,
no,
maybe
I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy. I'll do it for like, I mean, if I have a headache or if I'm dehydrated or like something, I'll do it. But I don't do it for the other reasons most people do it. But like the PEMF machine that Russ has, pulsed electromagnetic field.
How much does that cost?
That thing is sick. I love that.
It's got to be a lot, right?
It is. It's sick if you have a good one.
Explain what it is for people.
Yeah, PEMF is called pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. I am not an expert in this, but I got into it recently, so I know a little bit. But it's kind of like what we're doing with the Verilief, stimulating your vagus nerve, except you're applying, it's different energy. Magnetic pulse PEMF is magnetic energy. You're sending these massive pulses of magnetic energy into your whole body.
Your body will pulse.
Yeah.
It is a heartbeat, basically.
Yeah, your body will pulse. And it sounds scary, but it is safe to a certain power level.
If it's not
go too high,
super, I like it if it's not super, super strong.
Yeah. And generally, like we had at our office a while ago, one of the top PEMF, scientists in the world, and we were just talking about it. And it's just really interesting. But essentially, it's like all you really need is just 10 minutes of as high as you can tolerate it. Just sit on this mat for 10 minutes, turn it up as high as you can comfortably, and just you're going to reset your nervous system and you'll be good.
Because he has they're like rings.
Yeah, so we built those for Russ. Those are Hoolest products.
Are they really?
I don't know if you knew that. Yeah.
No, because like, what does that machine cost?
Kind of like custom builds, but
couple grand.
Well, the one that Russ has that we built are built to spec with others that sell for $20,000. So they're like
20 G's, bro.
Yeah, that's why we built them. We're like, oh, this might be a cool.
Who's buying these? Fucking Bruce Wayne.
Well, that's what we thought that a lot of people were buying them, and then we're like, oh, not really.
Yeah,
people are buying them
because the mats are the cheaper.
Not because it's not a good technology, but because it's way too expensive. Most people can't afford it, and they don't really understand it, and they're not just going to lay on this thing if they're like, what does it do? And they're not, the cheapest ones at that power are like still 10 grand.
Yeah, because you told me, hey man, like you can buy this. It's like a box, right? It's
like a big briefcase.
Yeah.
It's packed with a bunch of electronics, and then
I'm trying to explain to people.
It has a cord that comes out.
In the circle, it's like a ring that you put where you have an issue, essentially.
Yeah.
At least that's what I do there. And then it pulses through your whole. It feels like it pulses through your whole body.
Yeah, it does.
If you told me it was $1,000, like I buy it. But for 20 G's, like that's legit. Those are crazy.
I know, it's nuts. So we were at some point we'll try and get back into it, but
yeah, those are cool.
We were trying to build them as cheaply as possible so we could sell it for as cheap as possible. But you start to realize just like the components that go into these machines, like they're good. I mean, these are components that are going to last a while because there's a ton of power coming out of that thing. And if you don't have good components, it's going to break real easy. So that's why we're like, there's a reason these are so expensive.
Yeah.
Because you could rig one up, but for really cheap, it's likely it'll break in a few months, which would suck.
But those are cool.
Or maybe that's the model. Maybe you just build them to break every 3 months. But
yeah,
I don't know.
It's wild. I mean, but I do think that with this and the breathing, I mean, it's
yeah. I think for the common everyday person, the basic biohacks you need are just learn a couple breathing techniques. Get a vagus nerve stimulator that's easy to use because that's so simple. I mean, it's so beneficial.
For people at home, it's basically like it'd be like you take your fingers and you just put it against your neck.
Yeah, it's like the little soft spot right underneath your earlobe into the side of your neck. That's where we target. And then if you want to do more research, you can look up other nerves in your face and body and use the same tool to stimulate those.
And like, so when you really got into this, you're like, okay, the vagus nerve is like your thing. It's almost like that you're obsessed with it. I mean, really.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to be if you're going to really do something with it. I mean,
because I don't hear anybody talk about it. That's why I'm asking, because like we do, again, I think we do a disservice in all the things. Like here's 80 million biohacks. Here's all these different things we can do. Yet we don't ever talk about breathing either.
Yeah.
I mean, I have people come in here and we're going to do 6 different exercises and we're not going to talk to them about breathing because they're going to tell me to fuck off and they're not going to listen. So it's like you pick your battles.
It's because it's not cool yet. Like the people that are obsessed with vagus nerve tend to be more of the clinical, like the super nerdy people, or the, like me, the super nerdy people who are just obsessed with this kind of stuff, or, the like more elderly people who tend to have chronic nervous system issues. Like they know everything about the vagus nerve because they know how important it is in their healing process. But most young people like don't really ever experience that. And so I think the concept of it hasn't really hit the tipping point, if you might say. Like it hasn't, it's not cool yet, but I mean, it will be if someone explains it well and there's a good application for it, which is something we're trying to do.
No, and the way that you guys do it is easy. I think that alone, getting people to just for lack of a better term, shut the fuck up, calm down, be quiet, be still.
You can't talk when you're lighting your.
No, and because like I would go a couple times a week to Russ's place before I have all this, and just put it on and sit there and like go through the whole experience, which I do think is cool. I'm like, but it forces you to not be on a screen. I mean, you can be, you could like watch TV and something, but I think it's better if you don't. Like if you literally can just own the breathing, because I don't think people work on it enough.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of people tell me, they're like, dude, you should put this in with a virtual reality headset. And if you have ever done that, it sucks. Like virtual reality is hard to bear because your eyes are open. And after 10 minutes, usually I'm like, I'm not the type of person that can handle it. And so
have you done like the VR goggles and stuff?
Oh yeah, we have one. And so we'll put the headphones on and we'll go into this virtual world that you're just like traveling through space while getting your vagus nerve activated. And it's a trip for 5 minutes. And then I'm like, it's like you really want your eyes closed to do this right. The brain, there's a eyes open, eyes closed. It's the world's simplest trigger to calm down. Just close your eyes. That tells your brain and your body like, oh, maybe it's time
chill out.
To chill. Close your eyes. Just close your eyes.
Well, I do wear one of those old people eye masks when I sleep now.
Yeah.
To make sure it's as dark as humanly possible.
Yeah.
My wife talks mad shit about me. And I'm like, yeah, bro, but I sleep better than you do.
Yeah.
It works.
I just sleep I put a shirt over my eyes because I don't want to buy a mask. But
bro, you're a doctor. You have a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Wear an eye mask, dude.
I also like, there's something about wearing an eye mask. I'm like, I don't know.
I know, dude. I'm one of those old people now.
I'm just going to put a shirt over my
I'll do the nose strip too.
Okay.
And then I'll tape the mouth shut.
Yeah.
I do all three.
I know people who do all those too.
No, I had a dude, Chris Braltz is his name. All he does is teach breathing. And he came in here and he was talking about that. And I'm like, dude, does that shit really work? And no joke, dude. I got like the tape the mouth shut and then the heavy duty breathe right strips that really pull. It's like if you trained with that on too, it's like you have 2 sets of lungs.
Wow.
You breathe so much better, at least for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, holy shit, this is what it feels like to breathe through your nose legitly.
Yeah.
Like he sold me on it for sure.
What if you have like sinus problems and you're stuffed up every day? Cause
we live in Arizona and now it's dog shit here.
That's my life.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to ask him, but I do think that stuff. And I was gonna ask this too, so I don't forget. I've never done the VR headset stuff. I actually watched a guy the other day on LinkedIn. He's like, you know what's better than VR? And he had these like cardboard goggles on that was just like on the sides and nothing in the middle. He's like, real reality, bro. Here's a real fucking tree and real grass. And I'm like, you're my spirit animal, dude.
Funny.
But the Apple has that new shit. It's $4,000.
Yeah.
First of all, it's $3,500 and the charger's like $1,000.
Yeah.
What? Why? What are we doing?
I don't know. I mean,
that is going to be, dude, if you're going to sell products, just sell it next to that shit. And be like, this is going to stress you the fuck out.
Yeah.
Take this shit off, and now, here, breathe and do this.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No.
How does that, like, not make people more stressed?
I mean, thus far, it's really just the Apple fanatics that are going to go in line to get that. Because we still don't know, like, what is the actual value for the common everyday person for that? You know, they're trying to position it as it's a workplace enhancement tool, like get more done, because you can have like 10 different virtual computer screens and you can just like do all this work and it's crazy.
Who are you, fucking Elon Musk? Like, dude,
that's what I'm saying.
Most of us are
who
dummies.
wants to do that?
I can't, dude. I can basically do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
I don't want to put on, like, you know, I won't get this is not an Apple Watch. It's just for steps. I will never buy an Apple Watch. No offense to anybody. I don't need fucking email coming to my wrist.
Same.
Phone calls.
I've worn an Apple Watch probably 5 total days of my life. I'm like, I don't like it.
Does it do HRV and stuff?
Yeah, but it's not good. It's not a good one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You just have to be like really still if you're going to take good measurements, which I think most people don't. They don't use it right. I've had people get mad at me. They're like, your product didn't do anything. I'm like, well, what sensor were you using? Apple Watch. I'm like, oh my gosh, like you don't use that. Apple Watch doesn't have, at least not that I know of, doesn't have an app that it can connect to give you good HRV monitoring.
But people use that, yeah.
Yeah, people use it. That's what I'm saying. Like, people don't know because there's so much junk out there that's just like, this isn't good.
Who can market better?
Yeah.
Whoop is probably the best, or no?
Yeah, they're for sure up there.
Yeah.
I don't like Oura Ring because I like to, again, like I said, I think the most important is just take that measurement right in the morning. Whoop's like monitors the entire day. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't really care what my HRV is at random parts of the day. They do it during night too, like during sleep. I think that's interesting. But again, like,
I have a hard time. How do I, like, again, and I do this all day, and I talk to, dude, this is the 542nd podcast I've done. I got to talk to hundreds and hundreds of super smart people, way smarter than me.
542, let's go.
Yeah, it's a lot, right? I go, and even I, like, and we've had other people talk about HRV on here in recovery, and still I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And I do this all day.
Yeah.
So how does, like, Rick in Nebraska know what the hell he's looking at when he wakes up?
Well, there's nothing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's nothing like that for those people. It's important, but that is still a need. Like, they're too complicated. People don't really know what does it actually mean. I don't trust you enough that when you say your stress level is this, I'm like, how do you know that? Like, what do you mean?
And I'd have to imagine the VR stuff, if that ever like takes off, is just going to make stress levels go substantially higher. I don't imagine how it makes it go down. Do you?
No, I mean, everyone knows that being addicted to your phone and being on social media all day is what's causing stress levels to go up. Yet the VR companies are like, let's take that and completely put it in front of your face so you can't even see anything else except social media. And they're like, it's going to solve anxiety.
Like, are we the dumbest people who've ever lived?
It's so weird.
Like, I don't know if you're old enough to remember this, like when, like back in the day, like when I grew up, there was no like remotes early on. So you would have to like go change the channel on the TV, and we would play Nintendo, right? Like old school. And my parents would be like, don't sit so close to the TV. It'll ruin your eyes.
Yeah.
Dude, is that, now we sit right by the fucking TV 24/7, and now you're telling me I want to strap it on my face?
Now you can't get out of it.
It's wild, dude.
Well, there was a company pitching its new VR app as a VR dating app. Go on dates with virtual avatars.
I don't even know what that means, bro.
Why?
What does that mean? Like a real person?
And they're just so excited about what they created. Like, this is going to solve so many of society's problems. I'm like, what?
It's like, but there's real reality.
But
you could just live in like real reality.
Like, don't see real people, see avatar people. But no, the avatar is a real person behind it who's talking, but you're just seeing their avatar, and it's like.
But dude, my avatar could be like a vampire or something.
Yeah, who knows? With AI now, how do I know you're my friend?
Yeah, dude.
You sound like my friend, but I don't actually know.
We're just in the Titanic.
Yeah,
it's slowly going.
Yeah, I'm not convinced on VR at all, other than for like gaming. If you're into like crazy gaming stuff, because that is pretty cool. It's a pretty wild experience.
So I guess all this stuff, basically at the end of the day, you make it, this product specifically, and just the skills to help people deal with stress and anxiety, so they don't have to basically just do drugs. In essence.
Yeah.
Because if they're not going to do, I guess I'll frame it this way. It's like, okay, can you take certain drugs to lose weight? Sure, you could get on fucking Ozempic or whatever people do now, or semaglutide. But for how long? You're going to do that for 50 fucking years? Yeah. It's like at some point, and even if you get off of it, they have the data now, like most of the weight comes back and even more if the underlying skills weren't improved. At some point, you're going to have to learn how to eat real food, have to understand like calories or your macros or some type of lifestyle adherence to actually sustain the results you got from this thing. And if I look at it, if someone's like, hey, I have stress and anxiety, I go to my doctor, he puts me on insert whatever the fuck. Well, if you don't have any of the underlying skills to cope, are you just not going to have to take drug X for 50 years?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why typically the people who are saying like, no, I don't want to take medication are the middle-aged to older crowds, because they finally reached that level of enlightenment. They're like, wait a second, like I'm going to be on this for the rest of my life. I don't want to be. I need to figure out how to do this without this. And so that's the thing about this product is, first of all, this is for the people who are committed to not being on medications and drugs. If you're someone who's like, well, I don't know, maybe it will be as effective as a drug. It's probably not, because these drugs are powerful and they're crazy.
Not initially though. Because like, again, if I'm with you, like, right. Okay. If you're, hey, I have anxiety, I need to pop a couple fucking Xanax. Like, it'll put you fucking out, bro.
Yeah.
But what are the side effects that come with that over a year, 3 years, 5 years? And then God forbid you try to get off of it. You can't just like pop Xanax, dude, for a year and then say, I'm not going to take it. You're going to be in a fucking shit show.
Yeah, literally one of the addiction clinics here locally that we work with has a specific group of people that are overcoming benzo addiction. And it's just like, it's funny. I took a big, chunk of our devices over there to give a demo. Before I even talked about what it was, all of them are like zapping themselves and like, this is insane. We love this. This is incredible. So like they have a lot of them for that purpose whenever, patients are overcoming addiction, or they're like, I could pop a benzo. This could help you not do that. It could slow you down, and then you can rethink and be like, wait, no, I don't want to pop that benzo.
Well, because my sister was addicted to him for a long time. And like talking to her post, bro, is like talking to a fucking alien.
Yeah.
It was like, and she would do all the research. My GABA receptors, like she's talking like, and I'm like, bro, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I'm like, you did drugs for a long time, and like now you're not on drugs, and your body's like, what the fuck is going on? And it's wild to see. I'm like, but where does the education piece come from? Like, how do you get? Because again, we can go down the healthcare trail too. Like, your normal practitioner seeing 1,500 people a year, 2,000 people a year. Dude, I have thousands of people on an app. I don't know all their names. It's impossible.
Yeah.
I know the hundreds of people here because I see them 3 to 5 times a week. But if I'm a physician, like, I only have 12 minutes with so-and-so, 22 minutes. I'm going to try to convince them to like breathe and slow down or whatever, or I'm just going to push them drugs. And you're kind of like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Yeah, it's
the model's fucked.
It is. I mean, you know why they push drugs, like the medical doctors, because insurance pays for it.
It's money, bro.
And they don't have to explain anything. They don't have to sit there for 30 minutes. They can be in and out in 10 minutes. Just say, here, take this. Now I can see 3 patients in 30 minutes or 1 in 30. I'd rather see 3 because I make more money.
Well, and they're kind of off your ticket then. Just give them this and go. Even if deep down you're the doctor and like, hey man, this is probably not in their best interest long term. To me, and I'm not saying those drugs don't work for some people. Like, obviously they do exist for something. I think it's a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. Yeah. For most people.
Totally.
It's temporary.
Well, and so that's because we went and knocked on doors of real medical doctors, and my gosh, none of them were open to anything. They were just like, show me how it compares to these drugs and medications. I'm like, what?
Oh, so like when you when you're trying to push this, you're going to physicians.
We go to some physicians, but in the early days when we were doing research, like I was talking to MDs about like, hey, what kind of trial design should I design for this clinical trial to test the efficacy of this product? And they're like, well, first of all, if it's not as effective as this drug for panic disorder, then like, I don't know, you're better off not really producing it. I'm like, what? Even if it's not as effective, but if it's like somewhat effective, that's
like
still
an alternative.
Yeah, it's still pretty good. And then the real thing is it covered by insurance? If it's not covered, then like there's literally no point in trying to get this into the general healthcare like system, which is one of the reasons why we're where we are at. We work with a lot of functional medicine, holistic health,
naturopaths,
chiropractors, all that stuff, because that's their whole motivation is like non-drug ways to help people overcome. So they're open to anything, and it is the way. Like that is like what they teach is all these like the real healthcare practices that we ought to be practicing every day for the rest of our lives, because it's just that's the way our bodies work, right? Like, why would you want to get hooked on some drug if you don't really need to?
And take it forever.
Yeah, take it forever. Like, if you're going to be taking something forever, then, I mean, this is the part where I say, like, the holistic health practice and like, market space, you have to have commitment. If you're not committed, you're just not going to last, because it takes more time.
As a practitioner or as a patient?
As a patient. If you're
both,
if you're like, I want to get into non-drug ways to deal with mental health, all right, well, then you better count the cost, because it's going to take you a lot of time every day versus just taking a drug. But the benefit is, obviously, it doesn't come with all those side effects, and the first several months are probably going to be painful as you're trying to work through this, issue that you're dealing with. But it's worth it if you get there. And again, that's the other reason I say, like, I think commitment and desires is really the most important thing in this space, because it is painful, like to some degree. Like, I mean, think about opioid addiction. If you're addicted to opioids and you're like, I gotta get off this,
Wild, bro.
it's like,
It's rough to watch.
it's pure suffering to get through that. But like,
But the same thing, the people we've had a bunch of people who are sober now, who went through
yeah,
the full steps, and like watching people get off booze legitly is rough.
yeah,
Like but again, there's an association there when pain is happening in the body. It's your body telling you a story. Like something is happening. Like we need to change something.
yeah,
I go, but if you can go through that, I go, then you understand. Like, oh fuck, this is really what it was doing to me. Now I'm a different person because of it, and that's what fitness is. It's what going to school is.
Yeah,
It's like,
I think I've had this idea. I've never been able to like fully like put words to it. But I've had this idea of like one of the most important practices I think every human should practice is having a mental game plan to overcome pain. Not overcome, get through pain. Because if you can deal with pain, then you can deal with pretty much any like thing in life. Like the reason we turn to all these substances is because it's really just an escape from some type of pain, physical or emotional. Like I just don't want to feel this. I want to feel something better. And it's like, but that's not the answer. The answer is you have to find a way to get through it. But I think people don't have a plan. Like they start feeling the pain. They're like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take that drug anymore. I'm done. 2 days later, they're craving it. They're in pain, but they don't have a mental plan to work through it. So they're like, okay, I'm just going to do it. So it's like, how do you train someone to like mentally prepare for that and like change your perspective on what the pain is? And I think that's where tools like this can help. It's like this can help slow your body down when you're in that pain and you're not like freaking out, which can help you rethink and reorient your mind, shift your perspective on it, know that like, no, I have to get through this. If I get through this, I will be better. And just like, but if you're having a panic attack, like those thoughts are not in your head. And then you're likely going to go back to the, whatever that thing is that you lean on.
well, no, but I think, and for most people, it's having some type of like, as wild as it sounds, like you have a routine.
Yeah.
That puts you in a good headspace. I think sometimes people just think magically like it's going to be like when I was 14 and nothing hurt and everything worked right and I didn't have a care in the world. I'm like, well, yeah, dude, but you're in the real fucking world now.
Yeah.
And you sometimes got to do adult shit. And it's like, if you look at humans like us, like we're the only mammals that don't stretch before movement. We just get up and go because we're idiots. I go, even watch your dog. Like it will stretch before it primes itself to move. Yet we just get up and like, stress level 1,000 and we move. I'm like, but you have, and I'm not I don't meditate like in the traditional sense of what people do. It's not my thing. I go, but I have my own processes and they work for me. And my stress, and again, I've created an entire world that revolves around my skill set and what I do. So my stress level is super fucking low. Yeah. I'm like, but even when things go wrong, whether it's in the physical body or the mind, I'm like, I will be like, well, I'll accept what is going on, but like, how do I fix it? Through whether it is like tissue work, mobility, breathing, sleep, nutrition, exercise, like unplugging from all the bullshit that's causing the problem. It's like if you go on, I always say like, it's like why I don't watch the news, right? Because it puts me in a certain way. Yeah. Like if I go on Twitter and I read Twitter, it'll make me think like the world's fucking ending tomorrow. But then if I go to, Safeway, everybody's super chill and I can buy blueberries and I can walk out and it's totally cool. And it's like, but when you're always, choosing those things, you'll take that on. And if you have no tools to basically work through those, you'll always default to drugs, alcohol, or whatever the thing may be.
Yeah.
So like when you guys, I guess I'll ask this and then give me whatever you want before we go. Like final like tips for people if they're struggling to, to feel better and they typically just turn to drugs, alcohol, but they truly want to, take control of it. Is like, do you have a routine that you suggest on top of this stuff? Like, or what do you specifically do? Now, your world's probably a little bit different than a normal person's, but.
Yeah, I mean.
Like, do you do the breathing ever, or you just do it when you do the stim?
Yeah, I do a lot of things. I do the breathing. I do the stim. If I don't have the stim on me, I do the breathing mostly because it's just like right there. In my office, we have one of those PEMF machines. So that's my favorite. I get the headphones, I get the PEMF, do that for 10 minutes, and I'm just like, that's the best. Obviously, you don't always have access to that. But also, that's just taking care of the physical side of things. Like that's just slowing you down. That's not curing the underlying root of what's causing you to be stressed out and anxious. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like this perspective, this idea, like that you have about life. Like for example, when I was playing golf, I put all this pressure on myself because I made golf everything. There's nothing else but this. But that's not true. Like that's just a mental perspective.
Well, and if you do, we wear these shirts like everything's temporary because it is. And I had this guy Mark Kerr here last Sunday. If you know who Mark Kerr is, he was the NCAA Division I wrestling champion. He actually beat Randy Couture to win the title, and Randy Couture is Captain America.
Nice.
Yeah, he won UFC 13 and 14. He was at one point probably the baddest motherfucker on the planet, and he missed the Olympics by like one spot. To Kurt Angle, and Kurt Angle wins the gold medal and becomes in WWE. And I asked him, and he's like, at the time, he goes, it bothered me. And I go, yeah, but now, like, does it matter? And he's like, no, I don't give a shit. I go, because like when you go into Wells Fargo, like you're not going to wear your gold medal in there anyway. And not to downplay like your golf didn't matter or like Mark's career didn't matter, but nobody gives a shit.
No.
Like we think our stuff is so important, right? Like, dude, you could bring in 99% of the PGA Tour in here tomorrow to work out on Saturday morning. I couldn't fucking tell you who they were.
Yeah.
And you know what? I also don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yet in our mind, we convince ourselves like this means everything.
Yeah.
And it never matters.
That's the thing. People don't have proper perspective. They make so much out of so little. And that's what I've learned. It's like, look, I'm just going to do my best. And like, that's all I can do. That's it. It's literally all I can do. Why would I get hung up? I tried my best. Now, if you didn't try your best, well, now you have a reason to be all regretful and anxious because it's like, come on, you could have done better.
But even that, like, it happened.
In terms of effort.
It's in the past. I learned from it and don't do the thing the next time.
That's it. It's really just that perspective. That's what I struggled with in high school growing up was you hit a bad shot, I can't let it go. That's all. It's in my mind for the rest of the round. I'm like, if I just wouldn't have done that.
But people do that in their life, dude, with everything, and it just weighs them the fuck down.
Yeah. Yeah, like I do that all the time in my business. Like there's stuff I do that I'm like, that was a mistake. But now I don't care. Now I'm like, look, I learned from it. I did my best. I'm not ever out there actively trying to do like stupid stuff. Like I'm trying to do everything
naturally
right.
happens for me.
But it's just like, oh yeah, that was dumb. I shouldn't have done that. It happens all the time. But I'll always try to like right the wrong. If I do something wrong, I'm like, we got to go back on this. I'm always going to defend myself if I have to. If I'm like, no, I feel like I did the right thing here, even though everything says I didn't do the right thing. No, I did the right thing. But like, yeah, it's just perspective. Like, just go. You're not really in control. No one's really in control.
And you think like if you didn't do any of these other practices, like would that be the perspective still? You know what I mean? Like if you just got so wrapped up in your day, because again, we phrase it this way here. Like people get so busy working in their life, they can't work on their life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you run a business, you know how it is. Like you get so, whether you're the practitioner in it, you're the manager of it, you're the owner of it, or you're the CPA, the financial advisor, you're the fucking janitor, depending on what stage in your business is, you're doing too many things.
Yeah.
And when you're doing that in it, you don't ever get to work on it.
Yeah.
And that's most people's day-to-day life. It's moving at a clip that's way too fast, and we just can't give away anything. You know, I say like you take one step back to take, a million steps forward. Can you dedicate 10 minutes to a practice like this a day? How much, and that's, I say with everything, if you can do mobility for 10 minutes a day, if you can just sit in silence for 10 minutes a day, like it'll change your life. But very few people will make the time to do that. Yeah.
I don't know why they don't. I mean, I kind of do. They don't know. And they're skeptical because they're like, that's like a woo-woo thing. Like, whatever. That's what.
Dude, I used to think all this shit was back in the day. Yeah. But like a lot of it, again, at the end of the day, like whether there's, again, I've had people on here where it's like we can talk about cold plunges and grounding and like sunning your butthole and all the crazy shit people do. I go, but at the end of the day, if it makes you feel better, that's what matters. Yeah. Like if you feel better because of it, if you have less stress and less anxiety because of it. And I'm from that old school of like, and this is how my dad was like, you got a problem, shut the fuck up, deal with it, keep it moving. My dad is Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino, literally the same person, and except he has tattoos. But that's what I grew up in. And so I'm not from this school of like, oh, you know what, get out in nature, do the grounding, do the breathing shit. I'm like, but it works, dude.
Yeah.
It legitly does. Like, I wouldn't have brought you on here if I thought it was bullshit. Because I did it for months. When did I have Russ give me this? Probably like February or something. So it's been like 4 months. And we've had breathing people on here before. And not that I dismiss it, like I would try it, but never like, here's this simple ass protocol. And this is real talk. Like every speech I do now, since then I did 2. I did 1 the week before and then 2 the week before that. The number one thing I say is breathing, and I give them that protocol. I'm like, you guys, I know this is going to sound crazy. In this whole room, 150 people, I'm like, just 5 seconds in, dude. 15 seconds out through your mouth. I go, most of you will suck. Yeah. Most of you will not be able to do it. I go, but if you practice, you'll get close to 3 in a minute. And even if people never did, dude, doing 5 breaths in a minute for most people, when the average person is what, 20?
Yeah. A lot.
It's a game changer.
Yeah. And I tell people sometimes, I'm like, just inhale and exhale as long as you can. Just keep it simple. Just the slowest exhale you possibly can give. And usually it's like the 5 seconds, or it's usually like 5 breaths per minute still. I can't breathe that slow.
But still, 5 is better than 20.
Totally. Yeah, it's a great, and it brings your mind to your attention. You're not to your breath. You're not thinking of other things. So you're focused on like bring your attention to something.
Well,
breath.
And it changes your state too, right? Like your physiology.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so imagine like how you and your wife argue. You have a certain stance, and so does she. Whether you realize it or not, when you go home, now you are going to. What I mean is, like, you guys don't lay in bed, stare at the ceiling, and scream at each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to stand up.
Yeah.
Or whatever you fucking, like, I stand up. Like, like, now you got a problem. And my wife does the same. She's got her hand on her hip, and she's going, she's not nice. I go, but that changes. Now, if we just sat there and said, hey, shut the fuck up and let's just breathe for a minute, it's hard to be stressed. It's hard to argue. It's hard to fight.
Yeah, so true.
When you slow things down.
Yeah.
But most people don't think of that.
Yeah.
Like when they're at work, they go fight or flight. Like we crouch forward. A lot of times when we concentrate, we don't breathe at all.
Yeah.
So now our breathing is erratic and everything has changed.
Yeah.
But if you just had a reminder, like, hey, dude.
It makes everything easier. When you're like chill, everything's easier. And just because you're chill doesn't mean you can get into that fight or flight state. Like you can't get into it. Like you can get into it at any moment.
Oh, so 0 to 100.
Yeah, you can go 0 to 100 real quick.
Yep.
But I mean, in golf, for me, same thing. If I could just slow my heart rate down on the first tee, I'm fine. That's it. That's all I needed. Just for a few minutes. I'm still worried, like, oh, everyone's watching me. But like, at least if my body's physically calm, I can like work through that. Same with everything in life. Like, and that's for me. Like that is a benefit with this. I can use this before I go home because I know if I don't slow down, like it's not going to be a great evening with my wife, right? I need to chill so that I'm with her now, like, and we can talk easily.
So you're present.
Yeah, you're present.
Yeah, I wish this would have been around like when I first started public speaking, because I'm an introvert by nature. And I remember the first time I talked to like Fidelity, I'm in my car doing the fucking Tony Robbins, like screaming and shit. And dude, I'm like trembling in my throat trying to say the first words. No, after 5 minutes, I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But those first 5 minutes are a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
And now I go on and I don't give a fuck because all I do is say the same things a million times. But I'm like, God, dude, how terrified. Like, and there's a point where like when you play sports, it's like excitement and you care and you're amped up, and so you do play better because it's heightened. But then it comes to the point where it's beyond that, it's crippling.
Yeah.
Where you're like a shell of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's never fun.
No, it's the, I can't remember the name of it, the Yerkes-Dodson curve or something, but like.
Where you reach the point of.
Yeah, there's a perfect point of arousal and like chill that you need to be in for performance. And if you're on either end of those, you're not going to perform well. You can be way too hyper aroused, and it's like, that's bad. So in other words, like that's what this tool can help with. If you're on that end of the spectrum, it can bring you back into that balanced state for optimal performance.
Where can these guys find all this stuff at if they want to check it out even more? Like your website, does it break down a lot of the stuff we talked about?
Yeah, there's a lot of the basics on there, and I'm writing more content and blogs explaining the stuff. I'm working on a new article actually explaining the difference between using our product to stimulate auricular versus cervical, and why auricular I think is better based on the data we have for nervous system recovery. The data is just better. And so I'll post that, but you can, our website it's hoolest.com, HOOLEST.com, like coolest, I just made the name up when I was in college because I didn't have a product at the time. So I'm
You
like,
just said it. You wanted to make it your last
Hoolest,
name. I get it.
Yeah.
What a
I'll find a product. The product is called Verilief. The Verilief, vagal nerve stimulators.
you could have called it like the Hool leaf.
Could have called it,
You'd have been a real asshole then.
Yeah. The Hoolest. It's
I mean, you have your name on your T-shirt, dude.
It's the nick. It's
I mean, your name's on your shirt.
Yeah.
What an asshole. You're like a guy who puts his name on a building.
Look, I'm going to say this for the first time. I love myself.
Yeah.
I just can't get enough of myself.
Hey, I run a business called Jeremy Scott Fitness, dude. I hear you. What's your Instagram too?
It's just at the Hoolest on Instagram. We got a lot of like fun videos on there showing people reacting to our product. Because it is a pretty wild feeling. It's not something most people have ever felt. And then some other cool stuff. But yeah, you can engage with us on Instagram at the Hoolest. Send us a message. We respond to everybody. We got contact forms on our website if you have questions. A lot of ways to engage. We're trying to be as real as possible. We're not just like some tech company that has a website and you can't talk to us. Like, no, we're real. We got a ton of people in our office just like literally talking to people all the time. So like, we're just a group of people that built something that helps a lot of people, and we're here to talk to you. So
I dig it, dude. This is all good shit. I'll put the website and the Instagram link in the show notes. I'll plug a bunch of this stuff on our IG too, and then you guys will see it on the newsletter. But if you guys are on YouTube, we'll pop the links on there when this goes live as well. So I appreciate it, dude. This is all good stuff, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for just the platform and just letting me share my perspective on life. I think, I'm just one guy, but it's a big problem. There's a lot of ways to approach it and just trying to make some type of an impact,
No, dude, I think this is like one of the biggest problems in the world is a shit show. And I don't want to be like the doomsday person, but I typically am on here. I don't see like technology is a one-way street and we're not going back to what it used to be, no matter if I think it's cool or whatever. And, I might be around Swanson in a log cabin and no one can reach me at some point, but most people aren't going to get there.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you have to, in knowing that as a thesis and with whatever the fuck the metaverse is and VR and all the crazy stuff, I'm like, you're going to have to learn how to navigate in this world. And it's very fight or flight heavy. And it doesn't have to be, though. Like, you can use the technology for good stuff. As long as you build a set of like foundational tools that can get you through the moments when life gets a little bit hairy, I think you guys can thrive. And this is the greatest time to be alive. I'd rather do this than like fight bears in the fucking wilderness. But you also have to understand like what you're up against, and a lot of people just don't have the tools to navigate.
Yeah.
So this should help for sure. Thanks, dude. I appreciate this. This is all good stuff. Everybody else, if you guys want the free sample of AG1, hit me up. I'll have Monica send you a pack right to your front door. If you guys want to check out the Jeremy Scott Fitness app, the link's in the show notes. We'll give you a free week to rock with us. And if you're on Apple Podcast, drop it a 5-star. Don't be a lazy ass. We appreciate it. And the same thing for Spotify. And I'll put all Dr. Nick's links in the show notes here. You guys can follow him on Instagram. He's putting on a lot of good stuff. And I know everybody deals with stress and a lot of bullshit in their life. And so if this can be something to help you navigate it, especially if you're struggling, I urge you to give it a shot. So we appreciate you guys as always. And until next time, eat well, train hard, be nice to people. And please, you guys, keep doing shit you love with people you enjoy because your life is too short not to. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.